Hello, everyone. We are presenting today on the UML sequence diagram. My name is Matt Pickett, and the collaborators are Jared Brown and Dallin Clough. I hope you enjoy. So what a sequence diagram is, it's a type of UML diagram. It's a modeling toolkit that guides the creation and notation of many types of diagrams. It's mostly in a type of interaction diagram. It's going to describe how a group of objects work together. These interactions are shown in the order they take place, which is why it's called a sequence diagram. That order is called the sequence of events. And to start us off, the best way to get a good understanding of this is to explain how the diagram works. At first, it looks pretty intimidating. There's a lot of parts to it, but breaking down each part, it gets a lot easier and simple to understand. The first thing, referencing the sequence, is that we have these three boxes, which we're going to talk about an ATM transaction. So we have an ATM, a bank server, and a bank account. Basically, the blocks that you need to withdraw money from an ATM. So these boxes are going to be called the objects. And we have on the left the stick figure guy. He's going to be, he's an actor of this sequence. So he's not technically an object, but we need him for the certain types of inputs. One of those types of inputs is represented by this solid arrow. This solid arrow is called a message. And it points from the first interaction points from the actor to the ATM. The first prompt that you would is a card. So that's sequentially the first action that takes place. The second thing that takes place is the ATM asks the bank server to verify the card. And you can notice how this arrow is just a little bit, the verify card arrow is a little bit lower. As we work our way down, it represents the timeline of the order of things. And so as we ask the bank server to verify the card, we come to a condition. Okay, so what can happen is the bank server can either say this card is okay or this card is invalid, and that's represented by this square box. This rectangle box is called an alternative frame. So what this is good for is in the top left corner of this alternative frame, you put a condition. And in this case, the condition is going to be if the card is valid. The top part, you'll see how it's split in half. The top part of this box is going to say when the card, when it is okay, kind of like a Boolean, like when it's true, when it's false. So the bank server will send a response arrow, which is represented by a dotted line, a response back to the ATM, which the ATM will then send a request message to the actor. So that's basically the first part of it. And if the card is invalid, it will send a response dotted line arrow to the ATM, telling the user to eject the card. So that's an important part. We'll notice there's a couple more different alternative frames. The next thing that happens is the user will then enter the PIN. They'll have a prompt to enter the PIN. Then the ATM asks the bank server to verify the PIN's okay. We have another alternative frame, the condition being if the PIN is valid. So if true, if the PIN is valid, the bank server will say, okay, it's dotted line, like the request is that it is valid. And then we want to send a solid arrow message to the actor saying, how much money do you want to take out? Request amount. If the PIN that was entered is not okay, the bank server will tell the ATM that's not good, and then eject the card. And from here, once it's a wrong pin, we're going to go back to enter another pin. So that will end that condition. So once you get here and you request an amount, we requested information from the actor. So the actor will reply with this dotted arrow to the ATM, giving the ATM the answer to how much we want to take out. The ATM then sends a message to the bank server saying, okay, start this transaction. And then we can finally get to the bank account asking, is there sufficient funds? Can you take out this amount that was entered? I probably couldn't request $1 million, or else I would probably get this message of insufficient funds. So we have another condition, an alternative frame here, that's saying, is there sufficient funds? And we just go through this another condition ending with a successful cash dispense. So that's basically how this UML sequence diagram is read. We go through, in chronological order with an actor. I think this actor really helps represent the sequence of things. Now this is more for like a system of objects. You can replace this with code. So if we wanted to have a more traditional sense of code, like a request to main or whatnot, that's totally acceptable to do and valuable to do. It is a little messy. This example was a lot easier for me to understand it at first. But the last thing that you can do is notice that these vertical boxes called activation box that starts at the ATM and goes down to eject card shows when the system is active. So we can see that the ATM machine is active the entire time. And when there's a dotted line, there's no box. That's when the system is idle. And the last thing you do is eject the card.
All right, and on to the upsides of the UML sequence diagram. So that will include one of the upsides is it represents the details of the case. Also, model logic of sophisticated procedure, function, operation. What's also nice about it, you can easily see which objects are used more than others and to see which objects are idle. You can see how objects and components interact with each other in the process, and you can plan and understand the detailed functionality of an existing or future scenario. And so there's also some downsides to this sequence. One of them being that it can be very costly depending on the size of the project, and it also involves upfront information gathering. And then lastly, one of the downsides would be large project sequence diagrams end up being too huge and complex to understand or to follow. And so some of our recommendations is you should probably use it when you wish to promote a deeper understanding of the system, or if you wish to locate and isolate risk. And our last recommendation being used when chronological order action is the top. And the last page here, be our works site.